Welcome to Screen Time Continuum. It's a wonderful Wednesday, and we are racing down your ear hole. I don't know if that's the right way to say that. I mean, this might not be the best way to start off an
Don't
episode.
say it
Can I
like
restart?
that.
Can
That
I
sounds
restart?
peachy.
Is
Yeah.
there a redo button? There's no redo
Don't do
button?
anything to my ear hole, thanks.
Oh my
Appreciate it.
God. Here we go. 2023. Welcome to the Screen Time Continuum. My name is Keelan, and I am here with the fellas. What's going on, Nick? How you doing?
Hey, I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm doing well, making the effort to say nothing more about what I said a moment ago.
Fair
How-
enough.
Mike, how you feeling, man?
Man, I'm good.
Awesome. Glad to hear it. Glad to hear it. Um, yeah, I don't know why I said glad. That was an accident. But either way, we are here to bring you guys a review of the Gran Turismo movie. That's right, for all of you racing heads, video game heads, people who just want to talk some shit. This movie has finally hit Netflix. You can go ahead and check that out. I don't know if we should really give spoiler alerts because it's not a new movie, but it is new to the streaming platforms. And it is not only available on Netflix, but I think that is the only place it is available for the level of subscription free, as I like to call it, because they say it's free because you don't have to pay an extra fee. But I'm already subscribing. So why am I paying more anyway? With
Yeah.
that being said, no, you don't, never mind. I feel like I'm gonna go two left. Either way, you don't have to pay anything extra. Go to Netflix, check out the Gran Turismo movie if that's what you're interested in watching, because that's what we are going to be reviewing here. As you can see, Keelan is clearly having a rough time today with getting concepts across and saying certain things because his
Yeah,
mouth is moving.
your
Brain's
mouth is
not
full of marbles today.
that. Too much information coming at the same time is just not flowing out properly. But we'll get there. We'll warm up as the tires must do on the tracks. Again, we are here to review Gran Turismo. I don't have any Gran Turismo, Gran Turismo information too much off the top of my head. So of course I will be asking Nick to give us that. However, I want to ask one thing to start. Was that Ginger Spice? Because nobody responded to me in the group chat, so I'm asking on air now.
Oh,
Ooh,
The mom. Okay, so you guys didn't see it. I
no.
swear that I didn't, and mom's.
oh, you
I
mean in
think
this
I
movie?
did. Yeah, I think I actually did look through the credits, and I still didn't click her name to double check if
I
that
don't
was
know.
Yeah,
Ginger
it
Spice.
is. It is.
It is Ginger Spice, right?
Jerry
Jerry
Horner.
Halliwell.
Jerry
And,
Horner.
but right, and that's the thing is I knew she got married, and I wasn't quite sure if that was her last name. And I was thinking like maybe there's just some actress that had a similar name, and that's her actual name. And I
That was
didn't
the
double check
mom?
that. Yeah, and I honestly was just like, man, maybe they just look alike because I never got confirmation. But thanks for confirming that, Nick.
I
So
didn't even notice.
it's all good, man. You weren't that big of a Spice Girls fan. Nobody's gonna hold it against you.
Man, I know the other one.
I'm not sure what that means, but if you're talking about Victoria Beckham, I'm sure that's because of the time they spent
Who?
here. While never mind, we're not talking about
Oh,
it.
oh,
So
oh,
anyway,
that's the
no,
uh the,
yeah,
the one
the
married to the
footballer's wife.
yeah, yeah. Nah, I know the one that was messing with Eddie.
No. Oh, okay. Never mind. See, now I'm the one who's gonna So anyway, here we are to review Gran Turismo. I only know that actually there are a few actors in this that we do know. I think it had a great cast, but so I don't flub up anything else. And as again, I'm just having a day, evening. Hey Nick, can you help us out with some specifics for the Gran Turismo movie? Maybe even a plot. I'm just gonna
Sure.
put myself on mute till you're done. I appreciate
All
you.
right. Yeah, no worries, man. Well, I am first going to admonish you for not saying giving me the Gran Turinfo. But
Damn it, that
this
was
just have to we'll just have to roll on through that. Jeez Louise. All right.
this
This
your
movie
episode. I'm not gonna. Yeah, you got it.
no, this movie came out August 27th, or let me see, August 25th of 2023. It stars, actually, sorry, it's directed by Neil Blomkamp, and it's written by Jason Hall, Zach Balin, and Alex C. And it stars David Harbour, Orlando Bloom, and Archie Mediqui. And also, let's see, there's a couple here.
That's Jack Sparrow's buddy, right?
Takahiro Hira, Darren Barnett, and Jerry Horner, like Keelan said. And the synopsis for this is based on
You just gonna skip over who his dad is? Like,
who is this dad? Oh, sorry, Digimon Hansu.
Desmond. Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, sorry about
Yeah.
that.
Did you
He
say
didn't get any
Desmond? Never mind.
Digimon. But yeah, no,
Sorry, sorry,
he
no,
didn't.
sorry, Nick. I just have to say, I heard what
Uh,
you said.
oh,
I
okay.
heard Mike say something about Desmond.
I think he called him Desmond Tutu. So I don't know. It's a simple mistake. I get it. Don't worry about it.
This is myself. Put myself on mute.
All right. Well, and
Disrespect.
the synopsis for this movie is based on the unbelievable, inspiring true story of a team of underdogs, a struggling working class gamer, a failed former race car driver, and an idealistic motorsports exec who risk it all to take on the most elite sport in the world. And this movie was budgeted about $60 million and it grossed about $120 million worldwide. So it barely broke even, probably, maybe a little bit less than breaking even. But yeah, that's all the Gran Turismo, Keelan.
Is it how much did it bring
That's it.
in? Well, so did it hit theaters over here? It did, yeah.
Yeah, so the US box office in Canada was about $44 million.
We really didn't go see this movie.
No, it made I made about 80 worldwide.
That's so crazy. I think that's crazy because I remember back when this game was kind of a thing. We talked a little about it off the air, but I'm going to ask. Um, uh, I remember not a lot of people that I knew were really interested, as we were talking about off air. Clearly, you guys kind of felt the same in a way, because the audience didn't get the answers. Did you guys ever play any of the Gran Turismos?
You want to start that one, Mike?
Um, like when it first came out, like once or twice, like Gran Turismo, like one or two, like once or twice. But I'm not a racing fan, so not really. I don't like the level of details that it comes with it because I'm not a car person.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, fair.
I couldn't get into it.
Right, right. I get that. I know for me, that was part of the interest was the detail, but the level of detail was definitely exhausting. Uh, However, I played for quite some time. I didn't get. I'd say by the time they had the competition that's in this film, I was no longer playing the game. But yeah,
Yeah, it's
yeah.
been around since 1997, so
Mhm.
it's quite old. Yeah, I never really got into Gran Turismo, honestly. I found it a little bit too realistic. I'm not a huge simulator guy. And I'm also not a huge motorhead, so that probably just missed me. I found
Right.
games like Burnout a little bit more fun just
Midnight Club.
because, yeah, just because they're crazy and, the physics are a little bit fluid and wonky.
Mhm.
The realistic physics thing kind of takes me out of the enjoyment of a race,
Yeah.
So
Man, if he
yeah,
wasn't shooting rockets out of the cars, I wasn't interested.
Twisted Metal.
exactly. Ghost
Give me
rockets that
Twisted
shoot
Metal,
through
personally.
that,
Right.
yeah, that shoot through buildings. Spectre was so OP in Twisted
Oh
Metal. I don't
man,
know why
Twisted
Yeah, he
Metal.
anybody
was.
played anything else. I honestly,
Twisted Metal Black was like
Let's
no.
not get into that right now.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm like we could talk about Twisted Metal, but never mind. Nobody want to review
No,
that.
then we'd have to watch that show, and I don't really
Yeah,
want to do
you see,
I did
I
watch
said
it.
it a little bit like nobody wants to, but that's not what I said. Nobody wants to review that.
that. Mm-hmm.
Um, but to the Gran Turismo, yeah, I remember having the midnight clubs and all of those, and just being so much Need for Speed, especially right because Need for Speed to me was that fine mesh, that good mesh between
Yeah.
Gran Turismo and everything else. Um, I remember I started playing Gran Turismo more and more and more simply because of the level of competition that came with it. Like, just when you have friends who, well, I race better than you, or I can play this game better than you, and you're like, wait, no, no, you can't. Like, fine, now I got to go home and sit and play this game a little bit so I can make sure that my skills are tightened, so that and next time this challenge comes up, here I am. And that is actually why or how I got the most hours under my belt playing that game or playing this game, excuse me, Gran Turismo. But for fun, I'm definitely in the same boat with you guys. Like just general, I'm gonna go pop something in and it's gonna be like exciting. Yeah, Gran Turismo was not always my first thought. For some reason, After watching football on Sunday, though, I played a lot of Gran Turismo. I'm not exactly sure what the correlation is there.
All right, well,
Car commercials.
I'm thinking it's either the car commercials or just the banging and bang, like just because if you're watching a whole day of football, that's like 10 a.m. to about 6 p.m., 7 p.m., 8 sometimes, depending on the game.
That's ridiculous.
Hey, man.
Honestly, football games last entirely too long. I mean, who wants to watch?
Wait, but you're watching about 5 games.
6-hour game.
Yeah. No, you're watching about 5 games though.
Like, okay, gotcha.
That time
yeah,
maybe 4.
That's not one game, bro.
Well, okay,
Yeah,
I've sat through some games that were like 4 hours long, so I'm like, it's
I get what Nick's saying, because if it's baseball, that can happen.
Jeez, that's all day.
I've sat through 13 innings. I've seen 18 innings. Like, what is going on here? Just call it a draw.
I leave at the 7th inning stretch every time. I'm done.
Really?
Yeah, because I know who's gonna win. Oh yeah, no, if it's close, I'll stay. But if I used to go to opening day and all that stuff with the Dodgers, and they would just get wiped out every time. And so by the 7th inning, I was I know, but they used to. But
they're falling down a rabbit hole.
Yeah, after the 7th inning, I'd just be like, yeah, I'm good. Like they're down by 2, and there's only 2 more innings left. I don't think that they're gonna get it. So
fair enough.
Yeah, baseball games are way too long. And apparently racing is way too long when you have to do it for 24 hours straight.
Yes.
Good Lord.
Le Mans is one of the more interesting races I've ever heard about in my life. And I actually did not know they were going to discuss it or talk about it in this movie, because I don't think he actually raced Le Mans in real life, but I could be wrong.
He did, but it wasn't that time. And it was a different course that he placed at or something like that. But he did end up racing Le Mans. There's a lot of creative liberties that happen in the movie.
Right. I know. So yeah, let's back to the film. I know I did learn that this movie depicts only 4 years of Jan Mindenborough, right? Yeah, Jan Mindenborough's journey. I thought that was interesting to note, because I was curious as to how much time had passed in between everything.
Oh, so this was over a 4-year period?
Yeah, the entire movie is about 4 years.
I didn't know that.
They don't do a very good job about telling us that.
I had no idea.
I think, well,
could have been a summer,
right?
I don't know.
Wait, I think I might remember that incorrectly. No, they tell the story of, I think it was the way, because this is from an interview I heard him giving, right? I want to say he had said that it depicts, like, they tell the story of 4 years, but the racing aspect is only 7 months.
Right.
So yeah, because we got to think about the recovery time.
Right. After so the time, the timeline of everything definitely is definitely shortened.
Mm-hmm.
That's for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
Because he kills a guy.
Correct. Someone loses their life in an unfortunate accident. I don't think we could say he kills a guy.
Well, I could, because if somebody's so familiar with that track, you don't go over that hump at 300 miles an hour.
And killing is not the same as murdering.
Right, but true too. I do want to say I want to wait till it gets there, because apparently I was thinking the same thing you're thinking, Nick, that it had more to do with the elevation of that area. Apparently that's not what it was. I had to go back through that a few times to understand what they were saying, because I kept going back to what we were looking at. But anyway, we'll get to that in a moment. So
you should have known that he was low on fuel and didn't have the weight to make the hump.
That's not his job.
Well, somebody should have told him.
I agree with you.
He admitted to it.
Well, he did, yeah. I'm saying, yeah. But we're jumping like an hour into a 2.5 hour movie.
That's when the movie gets good. That's all I got to say.
Oh, yeah. I agree. The movie gets interesting, but it gets good. Like the acting gets really good around that time.
Yeah.
You didn't like the girlfriend?
What was her name?
Yep. I know it because I have it written down.
Yep. Tony?
Exactly.
There you go.
It all works. No matter what we say, it works. You know why?
Her name was Tom because she was British. So don't worry. Everybody in England is named Tom. Hello, Tom.
Hello.
Yeah. You guys never want to be able to
Evening,
go
Tom.
across the pond, do you? You guys never want to take this thing on the road. You
No,
want us to be in
no,
trouble everywhere we
no.
go.
Yeah.
They would love us over there. I just know
Warm
because
beer and bad food. Ooh, how
Oh yeah,
fun.
fish and chips, extra vinegar, please.
The only thing that they have that's good.
I just want everybody on the other side of the pond to know I like to travel.
Yeah. You can sponsor Keelan's trip to
Absolutely.
the sunny island of England.
Man, I read books. I know all the things you say to be true. I'm just not saying them. No, all jokes aside. I enjoy the jokes we have on this show, on this episode, on every episode, and all of y'all can go down. Anyway, what I'm saying is, 25 years ago, Kazumori Yamauchi, Yamauchi or Yamauchi, Yamauchi, Yamauchi.
Yamauchi, probably.
I think it's Yamauchi too.
Don't
Yamauchi
ask
wanted
me.
to make wanted to make racing accessible to everybody. He created the world's most accurate racing simulator, which is entitled Gran Turismo. That is the intro to this entire movie as you get a montage of the creator creating the game. And after you see a couple of bits of that, which isn't much, I'd say like about maybe 8 frames, we move on and we meet
Hey, Mike.
Jan. Huh?
Do you like how he just totally just skipped over our first impressions?
Yep.
We can tell him.
No.
Sorry.
I can't. No, we're just giving you shit.
He's on a roll. I don't want
Poor
to mess up his flow.
He's trying his hardest. Now we're just derailing him.
Man, I just got all the fog.
I know. Sorry,
so
bro.
I'm not gonna lie, we were having so much fun introing this that I actually did forget about first impressions. A lot of times I just be like, no, we did it right, and I forgot. So now that I've told you guys what this movie is about and how long it took Kazumori Yamauchi to make the game Gran Turismo, which is what this movie is based on, that was for the audience. Haha. But Nick,
right.
He's a good guy. He liked to remind me that I'm slipping, I'm falling, but I can't get up. So, guys, what do we have about our first impressions? What do you guys think? Who wants to go first?
All right, I'll go first. I did like the movie well enough. I'm not a big fan of racing or racing games specifically. But I did enjoy like the father-son relationship aspect of this more than anything. I wish there was more to it. I didn't care about the girlfriend. I didn't really care about much else. I mean, the racing was kind of exciting, I guess, if you're into it. But it's just not my thing. So on a personal level, I didn't care for it, but objectively decent.
Yeah, fair enough. I think that's pretty accurate with how I feel about it too. Certain elements of the movie are really exciting. I think that the sort of the cars are cool to look at. Some of the racing scenes and the shots are fun. But I think you got to be really into Gran Turismo to find this as enthralling as a 2 hour and 20-minute movie would be. There are elements of it that I enjoy and I think are totally serviceable. I think it kind of is a little bit weak for the first hour. And I think that it doesn't pick up in its heart or in its story until after the hour mark. And that's okay, but then you still have an hour and 20 minutes left. And it kind of makes you wonder if you could have just abridged some of that stuff in the beginning to hook the audience a little bit sooner. But if you like Gran Turismo, if you like racing stuff, I can see where this movie would be a good film. There's not a whole lot of these movies. I think like Ford versus Ferrari was one. Like there's a couple that are out there that do this type of thing. So it's
Days of Thunder.
What's it? Oh yeah. Talladega Nights.
Yeah,
No, I
definitely
shake and
less
bake.
than 10. Shake and bake.
Shake and bake. So I think there was interesting elements in the movie as well, sort of blending video game and cinema. That was kind of novel. But yeah, I think that the subject matter and some of the performances just were not up to snuff for me. Particularly Orlando Bloom. I kept asking myself, why is this character here? How does he have Nissan by the balls? Why is he? Why is
He's
he
a
a little?
marketing director, and their sales were. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, no, I know, but I guess his sales were low, but then they convinces them to dump millions of dollars into something that's very risky. There's a small element of like the underdog story that is in here that's pretty darn good, but I think they could have played in some of the more interpersonal politics better, like, like the way something like Cool Runnings does it, where you get to know the other teams a little bit and there might be a better rivalry going on. I think a lot of it, you just don't really feel that sort of like, oh, this guy hates this guy and that guy. There's one dude, but like that's about it.
You mean you didn't enjoy Gold Car Kappa guy?
Oh yeah. The one that totally rams him.
I'm like, isn't that the one guy you're talking about? No.
Yeah, that would be the one guy.
Okay.
That's like he's like the German villain or whatever. But yeah.
He seemed like a rich, spoiled jerk. And
yeah, but I think
that's me using the PC words.
I think he was German though. Anyways, yeah. So I think this movie is decent, but it definitely falls flat for me in other respects, just purely out of my own personal opinion. So nothing too critical that I can be upset about. It's just my taste. That's all.
Yeah,
right, for sure. I like this movie in multiple ways. I agree, Nick, that this movie is very target based. It definitely knows what its demographic is. Something that I thought was interesting after learning a little bit more about the real life person in the movie is how accurate a lot of it is. And I think that's where that first hour kind of gets lost for some people, is the detail of, hey, to you Gran Turismo fans who didn't know this, or to you racing fans that didn't know. They're really trying to reel a new generation into the racing scene, it seems. And yeah, this is a pitch. This is a, hey, look at me over here kind of a moment. They're trying to get eyes back on that, and I agree. It's the same thing they did a few years ago with Talladega Nights. Same thing they did back in the '90s with Days of Thunder, where they're like, hey, there's this thing that people are paying attention to, and we're losing interest in over here. So let's get back to it. As far as the movie, I actually liked Orlando Bloom's character, but I think for me, because it's a biopic, essentially, I kind of view this movie like a 2-hour YouTube video, a very good 2-hour YouTube video. Essentially, a 2-hour YouTube. Like I'm just watching it for the information, and then later on, I'll just find out what's real and what's fake. You get what I mean?
Yeah.
But in a way that kept me real in. It had the right characters. It had some of the right placements. I like David Harbour. He can't really do no wrong. I've seen him in some stuff where he wasn't good, but what were those things? Who knows?
Stranger Things.
Oh, Black Widow.
Hey, yes,
you asked.
Look, I can say they were there because I know what they were. But in general, I think this is one of those movies that's kind of in his wheelhouse, like that easy go-to kind of a deal. And yes, to your comment earlier, Mike, Orlando Bloom is Jack Sparrow's buddy.
There's also Legolas. Put some spec on his name.
Oh yeah. I forgot about that.
He's done the thing. But I think I'll say that later. This is first impressions. I think that he did his best for the character. I think, however, that the character might have had a little more grit to him than Orlando Bloom was able to lend. I don't think he was as suave, right?
I just didn't understand his motivation. Who is this guy, and why is he got Nissan by the balls? Why is he so hell bent about getting a simulator driver to be in?
Oh yeah, he's just a dreamer. He's just a dreamer in the middle of a world that he knows
because he like money
his way through, and he has it.
I would have been a fine enough explanation, but he doesn't even say that. It's just like, it was a dream of mine. I've always dreamed about this day where I could bring a simulation driver into the real world.
Because he like money.
I don't know. Yeah, they didn't really give us a great idea of who he was, and that's where
What you
to what you were
dreaming
saying,
about? Making money.
I
making money.
guess, yeah,
That's where what
sure.
you were saying, Nick, about dreaming about, oh, not dreaming, wow, about talking about the character development and just some of those dynamics. Yeah, this I believe was about a 5 hour movie that they cut down.
He
Who?
has questionable morals too.
They all
Who?
have
Orlando
questionable
Bloom?
morals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Danny, yeah,
Well,
the
what
character
does
Danny.
it matter if he really won? What do you
Yeah,
mean?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, he was going to the. He's doing just to reinforce your point that it's about money. He's doing the marketable guy, the guy
Yeah.
that has the press refinement or whatever.
Right.
Hey,
Yeah.
But let's see that. Yeah, but overall, look, a lot of the shots, a lot of the integration of the game versus the film, and showing us that way, how they made a lot of the racing portions of it, at least early on, kind of very video gamey, showing the integration of Jan's mind with being behind the wheel in real life. I liked all of those things. I thought it was actually fun. But that's where this movie is for me. It is in the fun category. Um, and Jan has a pretty cool story, but I understand the parts of this movie that they want to take us by storm. And I'm not sure what they want us to think from it, but yeah. Outside of that, though, yeah, I liked it. So we could get into the weeds. Um, so I already told you guys what this is about. 25 years to make a game that people finally started taking seriously, and here we go. We end up meeting Jan, who is a young kid who is he's back home. We don't know anything about his schooling or anything like that, but we know he's at home and he's playing the Gran Turismo game. He just bought himself a brand new steering wheel because he works at, like, was that a lingerie store or just a department store? That's just a department store, right?
looks like a clothing store, regular, random.
Random clothing store. Okay. Um, but
Old
yeah,
Navy.
he said again.
Said Old Navy.
Oh,
Mm.
Navy. But yeah, his dad comes in and tells him that he needs to focus on something real, something else, because this racing online, this PlayStation thing's not gonna cut it. But his dad is also a former professional footballer, and he really just wants to see his son do something and not squander his life. Um, Back online or back on the game, Jan ends up racing against a guy whom he ain't really want to race, and he knew he could smoke him, but his friend kept begging him to do it, so he said, "Fine, I'll do it," and he does exactly that. And then we flash and we meet Danny. Danny is a marketing director, which is really all we know about him at all. But he, like Nick said, has Nissan by the balls in some way. And he goes, has a meeting with them, and lets them know, hey, my goal to get your marketing levels and your numbers back up, get to these 80 million customer base over here that we've never tapped into, is to get a bunch of sim drivers, turn them into real drivers, and yeah, we're gonna change the game essentially. Um, they don't really give him initial feedback, but before he gets out of the door, the assistant runs up on him and lets him know he got the contract, is golden. He just got to find what do they call it, a chief engineer,
Hmm.
to make sure that everything is safe. Other than that, he has the okay. I feel like this is one of those places where I'm thinking like, yeah, what we're missing something. You just gave this big pitch, like Nick said, this dangerous, huge pitch. They didn't even take no time to call no lawyers.
No. Yeah. I, I guess it like to me, I was thinking like, oh, Nissan is doing this in the movie so that in the future they can make a movie about doing this in the movie. You know what I mean? Like,
I
because
get
that's
you.
the only reason that it could justify, like, oh, yeah, we're going to make this really huge legal risk and basically shortcut all of the regulation in our industry so that we can get some video game player to race our car for us.
Yeah, and that's the thing is I don't think it went as far as the Nissan themselves thinking about the driver. Nissan was thinking about the money side of it because all of these places, all of these large corporations have racing teams that they just squander money into because it's a gambling thing, The risk reward situation is that large. I think that they simply, for whatever reason, I think that's why your question about who Danny was to all of this situation is more important than even how Nissan or we call it Nissan, they call it Nissan. Anyway, how
Mhm.
they I was trying to remember how they pronounced it, but how they reacted to it, right? They again, it's I pay you to do a job. You make it safe or I shut it down and we find a different way to make money. You get what I mean? That doesn't make it okay, but I think that falls more under that category. I don't think they had Yawn or any of the drivers in mind until, of course, they got to, get on podium and have somebody make a public service announcement or an apology statement or something like that. That's when it matters because it wasn't until uh,
Yeah, but see that
much
like
later they
that's
started talking about pulling out.
I'm
They could have
starting
started
to
by talking about pulling out a few things earlier into they could have pulled out halfway through the training from some of the stuff we were seeing,
mm-hmm.
you know.
Yeah. No, I'm getting weird vibes from it because it just to me it seems like to do that in the first place, like saying in the real world, because this is based on a real story, and then
Yeah,
like Nissan really did this where they recruited
yeah. In
Gran
2011.
Turismo players to
Yep.
race with them. Like that is such a big risk. There's got to be something more behind that because nobody makes a risk like that because you can't know for sure that that's going to work.
I think it's somewhere along the lines of what these racing simulators already are outside of I think like cyber okay, I don't know what cyber cafes do for racing, but let's go to the GT Academy situation, right? Which was kind of what we're about to start talking about anyway. But let's get to the GT Academy situation, and they're literally racing on simulators in real life, probably for a month or so before they put them on the track. They're probably doing all of that for probably 7 months too, right? So I'm thinking that's
Yes.
probably another 7 months to a year that just in the movie was 20 minutes. You know what I mean? Um, I think there was a lot of trial and error. I know for a fact that in the movie it says 10, but they started with 20 and ended up with
Yeah.
just Jan and one other kid.
See, I think this is kind of like an Armageddon situation
Mhm.
where the movie has the oil drillers become astronauts instead of just teaching astronauts how to drill for
Right.
oil.
Mhm.
You like to me the logical decision is that if you want to use this simulation to help your drivers, then you do that, but you don't get somebody with zero driving experience to come and be a driver for you. It would be the same thing as like, do you want somebody flying your plane that's only flown test or flight simulation?
I get you. I
I
do
am.
understand.
I
I,
don't.
no, not at all.
Mhm.
But and I think again, playing devil's advocate into the world we're discussing, what's the difference between any of the other racing teams just paying for the nephew to jump on?
Oh, I don't think it's a nephew. And if it is the nephew, it's because his uncle was the driver before and he's been there since he was a child.
Probably
We don't
grooming
know
him
that.
the whole
Yeah.
time.
No,
We
no,
don't
no,
know
no.
that. That's not the
No.
scenario I painted.
Okay, but we do know from the movie that this community is incredibly tight knit and
Yes.
closed. So it
And I
That's
means
mean
why I
that
bring up the
grooming as
money.
in teaching him how to race and be
I
around
know
Hey,
cars and
hey,
stuff.
hey, hey,
I
you
know
don't
what you
have to
mean.
explain
I
that.
know what you mean.
Um,
But
and that's
it's
why
a
I bring
very
up the
closed
money.
off community, so it
Right,
would seem to me that anybody in it knows it very intimately.
right. But that's why I bring up the money because the character we're getting into now, talking about let's say the Jack character, right? Which we get into. Jack becomes the chief engineer. He's really Danny's last resort. We ain't gonna play like, oh yeah, Danny thought about nah, he was Danny's last option. Jack Salter. Jack was also an outsider, right? If somebody who had like the Kappa people, their money, they pop up, they just pay for a guy like Jack to come in. Jack's that good. He didn't even have GTA experience or Gran Turismo experience.
Dude, this movie's just Cool Runnings.
Maybe I'm not
It's
arguing
Cool
that.
Runnings with cars.
I'm not arguing
It
that.
is. And
But not as good.
All I'm
yeah, well,
saying,
yeah.
look, all I'm painting a picture of is this
No,
is one of those situations where I don't think the corporation to the question about Nissan or Nissan, whatever the hell.
Listen.
I liken it to most of these major nonprofits, right? Because that's what they're all considered at the end of the day. They're all just in it for the money. I don't think they care about the driver. And I understand that there is a liability there, but I feel like, and I could be wrong, I could absolutely be wrong, but I do feel like the liability for them isn't as high as the turnover ratio when it comes to those dollars because they gonna pay for those settlements anyway. They got 1,000 of them coming down the line. Once you start making a certain amount of money doing the kind of things they're doing in production, the way I've been told, I don't do those things. I don't know. I only read, right? That you're expending at a certain amount of cash anyway for the insurance and all of these kind of things. Like it just basically it's a part of the job, is what I've been in. What I have been promoted to believe. I don't know the right wording there, but what I've begin to understand is like sometimes there's just a situation like, no, they throw money at it and then they find out it's dangerous and it's like, oh, we shouldn't have did that. We shouldn't have did that at all. And it's like, you think?
Sure.
Like we
Yeah.
were looking from over here and telling
Well,
y'all shouldn't
you
do it.
know,
And so
everything is
I agree with you. I'm just saying
hindsight's
I
always
haven't get that
2020.
Oh
far.
my gosh. Okay, hold on. What did you
What
say,
happened?
Mike?
I was just saying hindsight's always 2020.
It
Sure.
was a
Yeah.
hell of a
And my
delay.
my my biggest issue isn't actually with the movie at all. It's just about this concept that this is a real story. I don't understand what company takes such a gigantic risk. Because corporations, if we know anything about corporations, it's that they do not take risks that are not tested. This was a not tested idea, and for somebody to do that is odd to me. So that my that's just where it, to me, it sounds like there's got to be more to this than
Mhm.
Nissan just decided that, hey, there's a really good driving simulator out there. What do we find the best drivers and then put them behind $1 million car?
We also probably have to look up what was going on in 2011.
I guess, yeah, that's fine. No, I'm just saying, like, it's fishy. It
See,
sounds fishy to me.
I agree with you. I'm just simply
Is
saying
that
from
when this took
their
place?
perspective. I believe so. When he won the
Yeah.
simulator, maybe 2009, something like that. The dude ain't that old, and he was 19 when this happened. So you just kind of do the math right there. Anyway, um, yeah, because I'm not gonna lie, I want to talk more about that situation, which is why I'm like, nah, but it could be this, right? So we meet Danny, who's the chief engineer. His job is to make sure that everything is safe, and he first comes up after he agrees to do it. He gets into it with the driver, Nick. I believe Nick is the depiction of the guy that was on the real life racing team in front of Jan, who, like, the way it was depicted, you have four people on the team. One guy's in fourth, one guy's in fifth. This Nick guy's in 15th, and Jan's in 21st. You get what I'm saying? And every time in real life, apparently, it would either be Nick or Jan that was picked for certain things. And sometimes it would be Nick that had the higher ground, and Jan would be picked instead. I think that is a nod to that particular person in real life, having that particular character named the gold car guy, Kappa guy. His name was Nick. Just the irony of naming that character Nick when this is the guy you literally were vying for a spot with for a good portion of the beginning of your career, right? Um, but that's the guy that Jack works for, which I immediately knew that was going to be a setup. I thought this was going to turn into a much larger rivalry than it was, but it really just turned into some, shooting spitballs at each other from across the room type stuff.
You mean talking
Um,
about Maddie?
no, I'm talking
Who?
about Nick, the
Maddie's the
gold
one
the
from the
gold car.
camp.
Maddie's
Yeah,
the one from
Matt.
the camp, but
Okay.
Nick is
Jack,
the one from the gold car.
right?
Kappa.
Yeah.
That's
Gotcha.
the car that Jack was working on at first.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
And Jack leaves the dinner because he's trying to give Maddie, damn it. He's trying to give Nick some advice, and Nick just, basically disrespects him. And apparently this is accepted in the camp because everybody's looking at Nick Jack like he was wrong for speaking up. And
That's
he
because he's
leaves.
a
He
prima
decides to take the
donna.
job. Yeah. That and I think that's the thing is, yeah, he's a prima donna, but this is like kind of what Nick was talking about a minute ago. What this is their sport. You've allowed this group of people who act in this behavior. You supported them for what, 15 years? You've been working for them.
I
You
guess.
know what I mean? So that's where I do understand that argument of like, nah, this is even later in the movie when we get into like them not wanting the sim drivers around. I expected that to happen from the gate. I never expected them to let the sim drivers on the track from the beginning. Like I was expecting some dang it, we are Marshall business on the racetrack. Just that's me, but that's how far I expected this to go. And this movie didn't have that much heat. And you find out that in real life there wasn't that big of a pushback. So I again back to Nick's point, it makes sense to question where is the cause for concern and the liability in this situation? Because even on NASCAR and F1 or all that, apparently he was able to get his license, and after that, it's like, all right, cool, you got your license. So if you die, you die. If he dies, he dies. And that in itself is like, okay, like usually y'all are a little more tactful, but whatever. He ain't putting my life at risk. I know that.
If he does, he does.
If he dies, he dies. But the other reason I believe that Jack agrees is Jack is an outsider the same way that these kids are. So in his mind, he's back to prove the outsiders belong. But
Yeah,
at
he's
the end of
John
the day,
Candy.
yeah, kind of. At the end of the day, the reality is, and this isn't just the movie reality. This is again the real reality. This is far too dangerous to put real video gamers in a fucking rocket ship.
That was my whole point.
I
It's
know that was
way
your
too
point. I know that was your point.
dangerous. Yeah.
I'm not. I'm gonna be honest. I know that was your point, and I wanted to play devil's advocate early because I knew had to make that point, and this is kind of a real point through this entire movie. Here's something that most people don't realize: astronauts and rocket scientists do not have the same level of IQ. The one with the higher IQ doesn't get in the fucking rocket. Just the
I
point to
mean,
make.
I think I'm smarter for not deciding to get into a rocket.
That's true.
I
Yeah.
agree. I understand.
I like the idea of it, but
I understand. But that is the
There's the
real life
law of diminishing returns when it comes to
that part.
IQ. Once you get
That
to a
part.
certain level, you become dumb again.
All over again.
Yeah.
And that is the point. That's not to say that astronauts are dumb per se, but when you get to a certain level of, hey, I know so much and I'm gonna make a decision that really doesn't benefit me health wise in any way. Like if you find out what happens to the human body on departure and re-entry, you wonder to yourself, is it worth it?
no. I mean,
We're not even talking about whether if the ship makes it out there and back. Is it
Mm.
worth the damage it's gonna do? I'm sorry, guys. Go to Google. I can't do this.
even the physical repercussions of doing those kind of G forces.
Like I
Keelan thinks
said,
the
like I
moon
said,
landing was fake.
It wasn't.
go to Google, y'all, because we gonna get off Gran Turismo when we start talking about
I
that.
know.
Um,
We've all but talked about this movie. All right.
we've pretty much talked about every bit. I'm trying to save some of the hotter points, and we didn't already kind of gloss back over them. But yeah, they're outsiders, and they really just want to find a way in. But the reality is, this is not a video game, and there is no reset. And Jan has this moment where his dad walks in on him practicing the game, and uh Jan, why don't you follow the line? I go outside the line because I'm trying something different, basically. And then I just hit reset. And the moment he said that, I'm like, yeah, there's no reset in real life, buddy. And what I thought when he said that was that's when he's gonna get in an accident. When he tries his little maneuver and it don't work out for him, but that's not how this turns out. Uh so Jan's dad is way more accepting of his younger brother, and when not just of him as a footballer, his little brother's an ass for absolutely no reason at all. So, oh, did we freeze out? Are we good? No, we're good. Yeah.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, his little brother's a ass for no reason at all, and his dad is condoning of it. However, he's not supportive in any way of his son being interested in racing because that's not our world, son. AKA, we too poor, son. AKA, you can't do it because I couldn't do it, son. It
Well,
pushes that kind of thing.
AKA, no video game player has ever translated their video
Now,
game
that is true too.
skill into a real world thing,
Right.
right? Like, no, they
Maybe.
haven't. No,
No,
they
no, no,
haven't.
wait. I'm talking about maybe somebody who like does drone strikes for the military.
Maybe.
That's the
That's
only.
about as
That's
close
literally
as you
the
get.
only.
Yeah, that's about as close as you get.
Well, look, they might have drone strike hockey now. I don't know, but
Yeah.
I get what you're saying. You're absolutely right, and that's something that I don't think this movie actually said out loud enough. This movie kind of needed to say that a few more times out loud. If through nobody else but the father, he needed to say that out loud, and he didn't. He just demonstrated it through lack of support.
I think that
Um,
was just a creative liberty process of the movie, because it seems to me that through how very little of his family is actually in this movie,
mhm.
he probably didn't have a very good relationship with them.
Interesting. I was thinking the same thing, Nick,
Yeah.
especially from the way it depicts that he just kind of up and left the family.
Yeah.
But apparently, in the interview I watched of Jan's, he stated that his mother was supportive out the gate. His brother and his father did kind of what he alluded to they did in the movie because we never really saw the dad not be supportive, but we never saw them tease him or tell him he wouldn't make it. But he alluded to that in the movie. He said that yeah, they initially did that, but dad came around a lot faster than the movie depicted. So I'm thinking by the time he made it through the academy, dad was on his side because he had to go through.
Why wouldn't
Or that's a CYA move that, after the movie comes out and makes his
Oh,
dad
let's
look
clean that
kind of
up.
bad. It's like, hey, no, my dad was actually pretty
Pretty decent.
supportive.
He was
Much
pretty, yeah.
quicker than the movie says. Yeah.
That's a good point, Nick. That's a
Yeah.
great point. And if
Yeah.
I'm li- if I'm I'm taking that to what? Hey, can we make my dad look a little better? Can I in these
Yeah,
interviews
right.
can I clean
Yeah.
this up a little bit?
Yeah.
He's a prick, got it. But I don't want
Yeah.
the rest of the world to know that.
Right.
Yeah, I could actually see that going down that way. Yeah. So Jan's friend, I'm guessing Avi, the guy that we see later, is Jan's. That is the same guy that was Jan's friend at the cyber place, right?
Oh, the Indian kid?
Yeah. Is that the
Yeah.
same kid? I think
I
yeah,
think
right?
so. Yeah,
I
he's at
thought
the
so too.
final race. Yeah.
Yeah, he's also the
Mhm.
first person eliminated from the from
Oh,
I
the
think they
yeah.
invited
yeah.
the top the 10
Yeah,
into
they
the
did
end to
invited the
watch
whole
it.
team back. Yeah,
Yeah.
they did.
Mm.
They invited the whole team back. And that was what I
Like
first
Top
noticed. I
Chef.
was like, isn't Avi his guy? Say it again.
I said like Top Chef.
Yeah,
They
it's just
always
look, the
Master
final
Chef
race
they
was
put
just
it
the
in.
reunion show. We all know how it go. They
Mm-hmm.
definitely was doing a reunion show up there in that room before
Yep.
the race started. Um Jan's friend. Oh, he sends him a photo of the invite to Gran Turismo while he's at work. That same night, he takes his dad's car. Actually, his brother takes his dad's car, but he goes out with him so he can meet up with Audrey. And he hangs out with Audrey and meets, and his brother and his friends are getting drunk. He chooses to be sober so that he can drive them home in dad's car, not get it in a wreck. Um, they grab a beer from another guy that's driving, side swipe by him, knocks the mirror. The police officer pulls both cars over, but Jan decides he ain't about to miss his race tomorrow. And what does he do? He proves his racing skills in real life, which I was like,
Uh-huh.
A
that
little
didn't.
weird.
Yeah. Now the escape, reasonable. Everything else, sir, you didn't go anywhere.
Also, kind of like why, I mean, like, doesn't make me sympathize with Jan later on, that's for sure.
Ah, I get what you're
Because
saying. I mean, he didn't commit a crime or nothing, though.
I mean, kind of running away from the police is
Evasion.
definitely a crime.
I don't know if that's a crime in UK. That's a crime here in America.
Okay, well, we want to split hairs. We can ask the UK folks if it's a crime to run away from the police, but I mean,
I get you.
it's kind of a dude.
He ran away from the police.
He ran away from the police for a video game, and
He got an achievement for it though.
then he shat on his father at his work spot for a video game. And like what I mean, and then something else that happens we'll talk about, and it's like
in a minute. I will say the part with his dad at the rail yard, I did not like that scene from either side because there wasn't enough given. He was under the impression that he was doing the right thing because he had done what he was taking responsibility for something that was done wrong. Fair, fine, we can run with that. Dad's just being a dad.
Yeah, you fucked up the car and took it without permission.
And my theory, here's the theory I came up with, which I was actually proven to be true when I saw Jan's interview. But my theory at this time was, okay, you're a dropout. You dropped out of school, either college or after grade or after high school and stuff. You just, what do they call it, secondary school out there. After you finished school, you graduated, got your diploma, you were done. So either you dropped out of college or you never went to college. I think you should be glad that, because Pops got you this real job. I'm sure you didn't just walk in there on your own. But where I had an issue with Dad is when you start talking about how dangerous racing is, you got him on a rail yard, bro. Danger is everywhere he go. Which job would you like him to have? Because if he failed at this racing thing, he got to come back and work with you anyway.
Well, I think it's dad's point. Well, I think his dad's point was like, who's again? This is before he gets recruited by Hogwarts. Yep. His father is thinking, My son is a
Go with him.
loser. My son is a loser who plays too much video games all day. He won't even come
Right.
outside with me and his brother. And
Go
he
with him.
sits and then he steals cars. And now I'm going to make him pay by making him work. And then he's a shit to me and decides to leave without permission.
But he didn't make him pay by working, and that's where I lost. That's where the dad lost me. The working wasn't a punishment. And that was out of the dad's word. That was the
No,
dad's mind.
it was a punishment. He just worded it differently. He said that this is what
Right.
happens when you don't have a plan. That's
He was
still a
showing him the
punishment.
He
consequences.
also said,
Yeah.
wait. Both of you must have also missed. He also said, this is not a punishment. I'm not mad at you for taking the car. I'm not mad at you about the mirror.
Okay, but the punishment is that he doesn't have a plan. He's a shithead that plays video games all the time.
So that's
Hey,
a punishment
Nick.
for his life.
Yes.
But
He,
his
he,
not the
he's a real
punishment.
daddy. We not.
Yeah, I know. But anyways, I'm just
What?
I think the
talking right now?
splitting hairs over the concept of a punishment is he says no, this is not a punishment, but this is what happens when you don't have a plan.
I'm not. What I'm
Still
saying
a
is,
punishment.
but I'm taking it at face value for what we're given in the movie because that's what's the storyline that we're given, right? He wants him to look at it. He doesn't want his son to look at it as a punishment. He wants his son to look at it as he's simply looking out for him so that he has a backup.
Consequences.
He wants his son to know that he has okay, consequences to not having a backup plan. So here's your backup plan. What I'm saying is, at the point where you tell your son, hey, figure something out.
Are we
You don't
saying the
have to
same thing
like-
from different perspectives?
I believe we are in a way,
I
but
don't think so.
what I'm kind of saying is he takes the time to say, hey, do something. At the point at which he has an opportunity, I'm not saying trust where this opportunity is coming from. I'm saying if he's going, you either say you're not going or you go with him. You don't just let him go and you don't trust the situation. That's kind of what I'm getting at. Like that's where the dad lost me is you let him go on his own, but you don't trust it. That's
Yeah.
it. I don't know.
I still think that it was somewhat of a punishment because he didn't want to be at the yard. And
I understand the yard
he
part. Yeah,
obviously
yeah.
didn't want to be at the yard. And then he left without his father's permission.
Yeah, because he had to make it to his race competition.
Yeah, he got to go play his
No,
video
he
games.
quit. He quit the
Man.
job, and that was
He
another.
didn't
thing.
have it. He didn't have it in the first place. He was working at a lingerie store before, and then all of a
I
sudden
think
he was
had both
working
jobs
at his.
already.
I don't know. We don't know that for sure
Why you keep calling it lingerie?
I think
because they called it a
because they
panty
kept
store.
making the jokes about the panties.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
But that's what I'm saying. I think that he had both jobs because you don't just walk on the rail yard because daddy wants you to be there. And you also don't just quit and walk off. If he wanted you to be there and you don't have anywhere else to go, how are you just gonna get up and walk
but
off?
you
So
don't.
you got this job and you've been there for a while to where you just, hey, I'm quitting, I'm done.
But you
Well,
don't
why would
also.
you tell your dad that?
You don't also
Not
get the
Pops.
job within a day.
Yeah,
That
that's
might-
exactly
That's why I'm
it.
saying he was already
That
there.
might take multiple interviews.
That's what I'm saying. He was already there. And then my question would be, how long was he there? Because he believed he had already paid off the debt. Because he asked how much more of this. But anyway, because the point is, my point was, I think if the dad had that much of an issue with it, less of why he was at the rail yard and all of that. I think more of my thing is, if you don't trust it, either you banish it, you tell him he ain't going, which means when he do leave, now we got a whole different issue, right? Or you go with him.
Okay.
He got lucky.
You trust something.
And my whole
even if
point
it's just
was
your kid.
is that he got lucky and against all logic made a success out of
yeah.
himself in a formula that was destined to never be successful. He was a freak anomaly, you know.
that's
And
not
so
an
his father was reasonable to assume that this stupid video game thing wasn't going to work.
No,
Right,
but
But you have to realize he has to chase his dreams.
Right.
Yeah, no. Fuck all that. That being the case, and that's all I'm saying. I agree that the dad had valid reason for where he felt. Any adult, even if they are proven wrong down the road, has valid reasoning for why they're trying to protect their child in the moment. What I'm saying is, I don't think he did enough to protect his son to turn around and then be mad at his son for his decisions, because either your ass ain't going, or you got to fight me to go, or I'm going to make sure that I go with you. I'm not leaving you to the wolves. And then, oh, well, if it go wrong, then it's your fault. Because I'm glad that never happened as well. But then he was successful. So anyway, off the bullshit. Because, yeah, that's too much time on that one area.
Yeah,
'Cause
we're
we ain't
only 20
yeah.
minutes into this movie and it's been an hour.
Shit, we about to get through this bullshit.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, he heads out with his brother. The dad is outside waiting when they get back. The mirror's hanging because he sideswiped the guy. He takes the blame, goes to work with the dad, finds out he's not there to pay off his debt because dad wants him to just be a better man about himself and understand that this is what happens when you don't have a plan. Leaves the rail yard. He makes the qualifying race. He ends up winning and coming in first. Barely, because I'm thinking to myself, how do you jump in the seat at 1 second? Don't you have to do some level of login to qualify? That was weird. Anyway,
Oh,
um,
yeah.
and that's just
You would think
tries
you'd
to
have to
qualify
check
first.
in at least to the competition. Yeah. Yeah. A little bit.
Maybe PlayStation or Gran Turismo work a little bit different than other things.
Maybe his buddy checked him in prior. Maybe that's what
And the only thing he could do was actually type him in. He couldn't actually
Yeah.
start it for him, but which was a whole thing he explained in the movie. So yeah, he ends up getting into the cavity, excuse me. He ends up getting into the academy.
Oh no.
Um,
Don't do that.
he ends up getting into the academy, and still he goes home, explains it to his dad, and his dad still, he ain't believing in him. And his dad's reasoning also is what lost me, is the danger thing. Like, oh, it's dangerous. Like, yo, sitting on your couch clearly is dangerous, sir. What do you want me to do?
Okay,
Like,
he a
I'm
bad
trying
dad. Let's
something.
move to the next thing, though.
Who said he's a bad dad? Why are you saying he's a bad dad? You're a terrible person for that.
No, it's just because we getting stuck on this one aspect.
Yeah.
We
Of
not.
their,
Yeah.
It's lit. I'm finished
Honestly,
talking
he's
about
not.
the
He's
damn scene.
barely in the movie. So yeah.
Right. I'm like saying, I'm sitting here reading my notes. You talking about we getting tugged on one spot? Can I
no,
get through the
I
damn scene so we can
look.
move on?
Honestly, I thought they should have expanded on the father-son relationship in the movie
I agree.
because it
Yeah.
seemed like it was more important than it was portrayed.
Well,
However,
I think a lot of the father son shit in the movie is fake.
Might
Like
be.
I
Nick
don't
was
know
alluding
that
to
though.
earlier.
I don't know that. As somebody who's
Get you.
watching it and just looking at it for what it is, I don't know that.
I
And I
get
would
you.
have liked to have seen more of it. Now, if it's fake, that's something between him and the producers.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean? If they're gonna portray something that's not real and then say it's based on a true story, then tell us what really happened. But
Oh yeah.
we can't get stuck on just this one aspect of the movie because there's 3 hours of movie left.
There is
See,
still, yeah.
you done giving us your extra 45 seconds on it?
Oh snap!
And you done
Coming
used
back
up what, a whole hour?
Yeah.
Okay
And
then.
I used
My
another
45
hour.
seconds is
All right,
valuable.
I'm gonna go back one page. So what I was saying was, anyway, so
Who knew Gran Turismo was going to be so contentious?
I did. I did, because there's an interracial relationship.
Oh, there it is. That's
God
what it
dang.
was. I should have seen it.
There was two of them if you want to go that route.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And both of them didn't matter.
Yeah, that's also true.
Mattered enough.
Yeah.
No, they didn't matter at all. There ends up being 10 racers that make it to the platform to race in the Gran Turismo Academy. They all come from 8 different countries, and they're all competing for that number 1 spot. Jack tells them that he expects them to fail. I expect you to die. And he has no room for the jokes. He's not here to play with you. He don't like you. You either gonna die or you gonna kill someone. That's the worst case scenario. The worst case scenario is that you're gonna kill someone. The best case scenario is that you're gonna kill yourself. You're gonna experience G-forces twice that of which someone that is in the astronaut shuttle experiences.
Kind of like a bobsled.
Yeah.
I was waiting for that.
And he doesn't think that any of them belong. However, Jan is bad at everything. He's bad at media. He's bad at conditioning because he's, out of shape, couch potato. And the only thing he has is he wants to compete. Maddie, on the other hand, is the shoe in, except he has a dickhead attitude. But I guess that's the racer's attitude as we see through this movie. They have him evaluate from a chopper. Jan listens to Kenny G and Inya. I thought that was dope. But only because of the whole way the Kenny G came up, because he gets into a crash with the coach in his car because he says the brakes were glazed. Now the coach ain't feeling that. Coach feel like he just hesitated. He ain't got what it take. He out of here. Get out of here. And if the brakes ain't glazed, like you say, you not coming back no way. Wiggles neck, wiggles neck. But lo and behold, Jack was wrong. The brakes were glazed, and Jan is back racing. Not only is he back racing, he comes back, and not only was he not scared, he wins it all and becomes the winner of the Gran Turismo Academy. Um, Either way, Jack's what's his name? Danny is having his back and forth with Jack because he wants Maddie to be the guy because Maddie is better for public perception. Yada yada yada. I honestly think that they were trying to paint it where the Maddie character had more racing experience and probably came from better off family. So just for whatever reason, it stood out optically. I feel like
Hmm.
either way, they're gamers. Either way, none of them are racers. Either way, none of them were gonna get the love that you know, where are you getting this acclaim from, right? There's guys every
Hmm.
day that want to do something. You're not that guy. Nobody wants you to be that. So they're not gonna get welcomed in. It's gonna be a hard game. I don't know why they kept trying to make it. To me, they wanted to make it seem like Danny wanted Maddie to be there, like it was gonna be any easier for Danny than it was for Jan. And the way it was explained by Jack, they were all gonna get shat on. So what was the point? Like
Well,
what was the I didn't get what that whole fight was about.
rule number one of cinema is that any man named Maddie shall not be taken seriously. There you go.
His name
Hmm.
is Matthew, damn it.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. So anyway, it begins. Sorry. Jan starts to see bits of the high life, going to the high class hotels and all of that good stuff. He has to qualify to get his FIA license, and he has 6 races to do it. And what in race 1, race 2, he's bumped and taunted. He's bumped out of the race by one of the other racers. He's taunted by his own crew continuously, and eventually he ends up making it through, but it doesn't go unnoticed that he is not let in the door per se. He had to show he had a little bit of grit and moxie to him, which, in my opinion, huh? What does that mean? Like,
It
I
means
don't
we have
see,
to move the plot along somehow.
yeah, because I'm just like, so what you're telling me is there's professional racers out here really willing to risk their life to prove he don't belong.
Yeah,
Eh,
that seemed weird.
eh. Because and that's me from again me having a little bit of experience just watching the crap the racing pop up on TV. Um,
That's
I've
right. You
seen
got
a
an
couple
uncle
of
that's a whole
accidents.
NASCAR fan, right?
That too. I know a couple of people that's whole NASCAR fans. I've been to NASCAR events.
Yeah.
Um, but my point I was gonna make right now isn't about that, but it's more so about I've seen the level of intricacy it takes to drive one of these vehicles just from watching it on tele. If we just start from watching it on TV, right? When they put them little cameras, when you see these people, these guys in the car, and I'm talking about just the stock cars. We're not even talking about when we get to F1 and the F1 dudes don't even look like they're human because they're plastered. Like they probably move this much the whole race. But my point is, um, these aren't, and I think that they might have talked about this about the confined spaces. These are people, and maybe imagine if you're 6'2", the whole box is probably 5'11", so you're pretty much like this for about 5-10 hours, however long they in the car. This is a high intensity type of a sport, so I didn't see or take it realistic that people would put themselves in danger just to knock somebody else out. But I could see um people making it a point to, as the professionals, the same professionals making it a point to you that you're not equipped for this. Either if you can drive, you can drive. If you're equipped to stand, you're equipped to stand. And clearly he showed he was by qualifying for his license. Again, I felt like the excess of this one driver literally trying to take this dude's life, it seems, in this movie. I thought that was just too much. Um, See, we all thought something was too much in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Audrey ends up visiting as they have the Nissan signing. They go out on the city. I expected something to go wrong for that. Nothing went wrong. They just hung out, had a good old friendly time. And then the next race comes up. It's Nordenborough, and apparently it is the most feared circuit in the world.
Dun, dun, dun.
And this is only 1 month after he's gotten out of the academy, according to the movie. Um, but his mom and dad are watching on TV. Jan is doing well as everything starts. He passed Kappa for second place. And as he's coming around the bend, you see Jack looks at the reader, looks at the wind, sees the wind picking up, sees the wind changing direction, and he tells Jan, "Hey, I need you to come in for a pit on the next time around." Um, in pursuit of the number one car, which was the Ferrari, Jan guns it, comes over. I guess we would call that a hill or a slight lip, with a little up down type of a situation. I'm not
A
sure what we would
hump.
call that. There you go. Thank you.
I mean,
Hump.
honestly.
Was it a hump? I wouldn't call that a hump. That was big as
No,
hell.
it was a big ass. I mean,
Yeah.
like for some
That was
reason
like a
there's
drop, son.
yeah, for some reason in the middle of a course where people are driving 300 miles an hour, there's this gigantic hump that makes you catch air if you don't have enough gas in your car. Why would you leave?
Enough weight in general, yeah.
Why would you put that there?
Right. And the other explanation was that particular area is called Flugplatz, aka the
airfield.
airfield. So it's like I guess they get wind gusts through that area, and that's what Jack was
But it's
looking at.
particularly that hump that makes it dangerous.
Yeah, I'm
Why
with
wouldn't
you.
they just pave it smooth?
I'm right there
Oh
with
my
you.
God.
I'm just the
How many
explanation they
people
gave
have
was the
died
wind.
because of that stupid hump?
Well, and that's something else he
I'm
said.
sorry.
So
I'm sorry.
no. Here's the thing. I don't know if you caught. Danny said that cars catch air all the time, right there.
Yes.
They
It's
made
not
it
the
very
first time.
clear. Like, no, this is what happens right in the area. People just
So
catch
we
air
don't
and turn
think
into
to
an airplane.
fix that problem, huh?
That's the
Apparently
problem right there.
not.
Because you're going like what? Was it 360 something?
350? Yeah.
Was it kilometers or miles per hour? I think it was miles per hour.
Either way, it's fast as hell.
It's fast as hell
So
either way. You're right.
We talking the Flash.
The fastest chasing that car.
Yeah.
I'm like, bruh, they are definitely traveling backwards in time if they hit the gas too hard. But he's doing well and he ends up catching air. He does a couple of flips off of the track, and he has ended up airlifted away. His mother sees it and is horrified, and we find out that a spectator has died in the accident.
But don't
Jan
worry, the
blames
movie
his-
tells you 4 times after that it's not
it
his
definitely.
fault.
Right. And
I was about to say,
thought it was
Jan,
interesting. Why would there be a spectator there in that particular spot?
there
Because
was a bunch of spectators there.
In the airfield where
Right.
where cars apparently
if cars
fly.
are apparently known to fly,
That's what people
what are you
do.
trying to get pictures of it as it's coming towards you?
Maybe.
Yeah.
That makes a whole lot of
See,
sense.
I'm
The
not
death
gonna lie.
trap.
I see where the humor is, and unfortunately, I think because I get it, and I've seen like, oh, an accident that happened like right there, and like this is a hot spot for accidents, and that's where everybody sets up their picnics and stuff. I actually
guess,
don't
yeah.
have an answer, and I think I just got a little bothered by that.
It's on the racetrack for having a gigantic death
I think
trap.
I was right, Nick. I think that's what it comes down to is the fear at a race is everywhere is dangerous. All it takes is a pebble on the road and that car is in the air and flying into the stands.
Right.
I mean,
So
if you're going at 1,000 miles an hour, yeah.
yeah. But so a gradient that's like, like a few degrees is going to make you fly off the road too.
Yeah,
I don't know. I was like, okay, you know what? Let's get Hanna-Barbera with this. Let's start getting, like you got to jump over canyons and.
Where did I start?
I mean, if we're doing a racing game or a racing movie, I'd rather watch them, jumping over traps and stuff. Rings of fire, like a pit full of razor blades.
I thought this movie was fun.
Shoot tornadoes out of the exhaust.
Yeah, there you go.
Maybe a turtle shell or two.
Hey, you know what? I'm calling both of y'all on y'all bullshit real quick. Neither one of y'all have liked 80% of the action movies we watched this entire year. Knock it off.
We didn't.
Hey,
yeah, I didn't either though. For the record, I probably liked less of them than you guys. If we be honest,
there wasn't many. We're gonna have to do a
like
recap
2,
next week.
maybe 3. Yeah. We coming on up on that. Hope y'all listening because we are coming up on that recap.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, he gets he gets into the accident. He blames himself. He says I shouldn't have been there. I shouldn't have been there.
We all know that.
That
Mhm.
you guys are terrible tonight.
No, we're not.
Terrible.
Is
We
it
all
us
know
that's
that.
terrible?
No, we
No,
don't. Yes.
no.
Yes.
It's the children
I'm
that are
taking the opposite
wrong.
end of this. I'm taking the opposite end of this. Yes, you're terrible. Um, man, he believes he shouldn't have been there, and he ignores his father's call for a minute. He won't let anyone come see him. Jack pops up and takes him to the crash site and explains to him that this is literally just a part of the game. We've all crashed. I'm the one who didn't get back in the vehicle. You don't have to be that person. And for me, that's something I've always known about racing is that crashes are part of the game. To me, it's the weirdest part of racing. That that that's a part of the game. And most of the time, because these are jets that don't have wings, most crashes end in very fiery blazes. Just,
Scary.
Yeah,
just, and I mean, I'm talking ghost fire. If you don't know about ghost fire, it's hotter than the fire you see, and it is spooky. Um, yeah, yeah, I don't,
Is,
yeah.
is that like ghost peppers?
yeah.
Oh,
It's
so
when you
yeah.
eat a ghost pepper and then go to the bathroom.
Ah, that fire I
That
understand.
that's the ghost fire.
Basically, it's like you're on fire, and I don't know if it's because of the type of gas that they use or what, but you can't see it. It's clear,
Mhm.
and it's literally hotter than basic fire. And I want to it takes I don't think extinguisher puts it out. I want to say they need a special something to put it out.
Probably, yeah, probably. All
So it's like
I
you could
do.
definitely be cooking right there in front of everybody.
Oh yeah,
Well,
yeah. You could be
well, that
burning.
doesn't sound very fun.
No,
Yeah.
it sounds terrible. This is the midway point of the movie.
Yeah, unfortunately, this isn't as far along as it sounds, guys.
No,
So
it's not.
and yes, I said unfortunately, and I clearly like this movie both better than both of these gentlemen, but still, we got something to go through.
Yeah.
So he tells him about his wreck at Le Mans. At the end of the day, these are two men who have suffered freak accidents. The accident that Jan went through was a freak accident. Yes, we can make the jokes about him being a video game, a sim racer, but all of the factors that come into play of the accident, not the accident in real life, the accident in real life that he had was actually much less. Uh,
Dramatic,
you
deadly.
know what? Actually, I'm incorrect. No, I'm sorry, I'm incorrect. He had a blowout, like a burnout, where I think like one of his pistons or something blew out in a race. But no, the accident that we see in this movie is the accident that actually happened in the way it happened, where his car caught air, flipped, and went over the barrier, and
Mm,
someone lost their life. That actually happened exactly how it happens in the movie.
okay.
I'm sorry, and I apologize that I remembered
Well,
that incorrectly from what I read.
mhm.
Um, but he's explained that it's a freak accident. As I said earlier, racing accidents are part of the game. It's either you're going to get back in the car or you're not. And Jan is convinced by Jack to get back in the car, and he's not going to let the accident define his career. He drives off the track, and even though the commission is set to clear Jan, I think I called him John just now, but even though the commission is set to clear Jan to play, or excuse me, to race again, the other drivers are against it, specifically Kappa and a couple of other people. For whatever reason, even though they're against it and it seems to be a discussion, we don't see at any moment where that becomes an issue or a variable in him or the new team's way. The new team is he and all sim racers. So the two sim racers that didn't make it below him, the two guys that were told they weren't good enough, they're now on the professional racing team too. And they're racing at the 24-hour Le Mans race against the best racers in the world at the most intricate race in the world. This is where I'm sitting there like, all right, um, so just fuck me, huh?
That's 8 hours of driving per person, at least.
Easily, yeah.
Yeah.
But when I say that, what I mean, yeah, I get the 8 hours of driving, but when I say like just fuck me, right? So you just not gonna make no sense. You just gonna take one sim driver who just got in probably one of the worst accidents in history, or up there with scariness and lack of like there was nothing he could do about it. It was a freak accident. So he goes through this freak accident. Then you're gonna bring two more sim drivers while the sim drivers are being potentially
Yeah,
blackballed and blacklisted. Make that make
because
What I
sense.
was happened in the point.
Orlando Bloom waved his magic wand and said, "You know what would make this better is not one sim driver, but three sim drivers." Yeah,
Right. Yeah. That
that'll
part did not make sense
really.
to me.
Of course it didn't, because it's a weird character that doesn't like actually think about the ramifications until after the fact. Then at towards the end, when they look like they might be losing, he's all freaked out and stuff. It's like, what did you expect, man? What did
I
you?
so I see now how you viewed that character. I viewed him much more reckless than you did. I viewed him as the underhanded, sneaky guy. I felt like he had something up his sleeve the whole time. It just never came out.
Yeah.
You know,
I don't know. We couldn't know anything about him because he's just the person to be like, "Oh no, this is fine, everybody. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about
Don't
the
look over here.
details."
that's what made him
Yeah,
the most dangerous to me.
I guess, but I mean,
He had
like,
all the power to say yes, and none of the it was like was part of none of the actual work.
but he doesn't exercise any of that power. He could have been the one that made the call to put Maddie in, and he chose to let David Harbour's character do that.
That's true.
To put Jan in, like, he doesn't exercise any of his like
His
overseeing
actual
power.
power,
Yeah,
right? Do you think Maddie would have did better than Jan? Do you think Maddie wouldn't have gotten an accident?
I don't think that he would have. Maybe he probably wouldn't have gotten into an accident, but he would have been more. It probably would have been less splashy. You know what I mean? Like it's like the concept of like Top Gun, Iceman versus Maverick, right? So Jan is Maverick. He's the instinctual pilot, the kind of reckless one, the one that takes big risks and gets big rewards from it. Iceman is by the book, formulaic, does everything perfectly to a T. There's
I
just
got it. As
it's
soon as you said
yeah,
it, I got it.
yeah. So he's just Maddie's just Iceman to
I
Jan's
hated Maverick
Maverick.
for all of those reasons, and Maverick is the hero for all of those reasons. And it was
Right.
like, hey, yo, so you just gonna let your boy go? Like, oh, Iceman's the bad guy, huh? No,
Yeah,
no, he
yeah.
wants to keep his job.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Sorry, yeah. I have my feelings about some of these older movies too, as we see.
Hmm.
But I have some other feelings about the Top Gun movie in total. Um, Not a bad movie though, but
Yeah.
I don't think
Yeah.
people talk about the whole movie anyway. Let's see. Where were we?
They're at the 24-hour race.
Yes, we're at the beginning of Le Mans,
Now,
right?
mods.
Yeah.
Um,
Normal.
yeah, so after he's heard about a wreck at Le Mans, he now is taken to meet up with the other drivers, the new teammates. So Maddie and Antonio return. Um, Apparently, Jan's not going to lose his license, even though it's being demanded by the other drivers. And Nissan is not going to shut down. They're going to bring in two more drivers and give you a more expensive car to drive in a more dangerous situation. I personally think that if you bring in the new car and you make it more dangerous and you get Jan up to par with it, okay, fine, because you've had Jan this entire time.
Not
Bringing in these two,
one. Yeah. Go ahead.
yeah, bringing in these new two sim drivers that has not gotten one profession like one top tier race under their belt and expecting them to hold weight
Didn't he say
or
they
just
were
tread
still
water
racing?
in amateur circuits.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did
Amateur
they even have
circuits.
their international license? When did they get that?
Yeah.
I thought you had to race in one of those races to get that license.
Maybe that's why they were in the amateur circuits getting their okay, maybe. That's
No,
possible.
because Jan wasn't in the amateur circuits to get that
I think that's what
license.
those first six was supposed to be. But yeah, I'm with you. That
Oh,
didn't seem like the
yeah.
amateur circuit.
No, it
They,
didn't
they didn't
seem
seem
like
anything close to the amateur circuit.
no. Yeah, you don't have one seasoned Nissan driver, especially when you give them a new car, a completely new car. They've
But
been training on these one cars,
yeah,
and now they're in supercar.
when
That's a F
when they go from
Formula One car.
GTRs to G3s or something like that.
I don't even know what the hell they're called, but dude, it's like 6 inches from the ground and 9 inches high. That thing is like a little race car. It's a
Right.
racing, it's a rocket. I
Right.
don't know.
And yes, they had Nissan drivers. They all got paid to go home.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't think the drivers were complaining like, hey, y'all go ahead and lose, bro. Thank you for the couple of mil. I'm going home.
I mean,
Kiss my
presumably Nissan
face.
had a team before because they
I
have all
would
these
assume so.
cars. Which would
Yeah,
be
I would assume so.
like I would be pissed if these noobs just came and like drove my car.
Because that would be the other
Yeah.
question. I thought about that. When did I think? I thought about that around when we first met Nick and Jan. Around, I think that would be like Jan's first race, not the one where he knocked him out, but after he knocked him out, even then he was back in the next race. But I'm thinking, where are the other Nissan drivers? Like, so did somebody else sit in for a couple of races? Like,
Who knows? Who knows?
yeah, yeah.
Don't worry about it.
Um, don't worry about it. But yeah. So they get a new car, they get new drivers. Um, Jack believes in Jan. I don't know if he really believed in other guys, but he did tell the other guys that you guys have made me believe in the sim drivers, and I didn't believe in it. I thought you guys were nuts. Jan simply believes in the team that's built because they all came up the same way. And when we get to the day of Le Mans, the race is beginning. There's a knock at the door, and Jan's dad arrives. He apologizes to Jan, tells Jan that I apologize for not supporting you. I should have supported you better. And he tells him that he's goddamn proud of him.
Yeah.
And I only did it to protect you. I've only done all these things for you. When Jan tells him I've done it for you and shows his dad that he put the sticker of his football team that he played for on his helmet because every race is for Papa. Um, I thought that was actually a really heartfelt moment, but I think
That
it's
was touching.
because what's his name? Jimon. I feel
Digimon
like
Yeah.
monster.
I always feel like I say his name in
Just say
incorrectly.
Digimon.
And that's the problem. I don't
Monster.
think his name is Digimon.
It's Digimon. There's no di. It's
Right,
Digimon.
it's
Yeah.
Digimon, right?
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, yes. So I think he's a great actor. I think he conveys emotion very well. And every time I've ever seen him on the screen getting emotional, I feel like I'm drawn into that same emotion. And he's able to turn that shit on and off like water. Like in the clip, he's hugging his son, he's
Hmm.
smiling as they're pulling away, he's dropping his head and he's welling in tears, and you see the tears run. And in the moment of making the statement, he cuts the tears, he's sobbing out, but he's still able to hold that tension of I was just crying. I was like, hey, yo, if that's not class A acting, I don't know what is. Like, I simply don't know what is. And he didn't even have to do all of that. I don't even think they paid him to be that good, but he was. Either way. Uh,
And then there's some vroom vroom and some scoot skirt, and he makes it to the
you don't knock it
podium.
off.
Then we're done.
Shh, you knocked
We're
it off.
done.
Le
Okay.
Mans is a 24-hour race that goes from 3 p.m. to 3 p.m. No driver can race more than 14 hours maximum. That's why they have 3 drivers. So I thought to myself, if you can do 14 hours, it's only a 24-hour race. So everybody does not have to race the same amount. But yes, Nick, like you said earlier, it would be about 8 hours if everybody took the same amount of hours in.
Mm-hmm.
They start with 3 hour shifts, bringing everybody down to their 11-hour mark, but that leaves everybody more than enough time to get in where they fit in and allow the man of the hour, Jan, who is clearly the team captain. It's crazy how you go from being, a video gamer to a team captain in like, I don't know, a couple months. But oh no, well, this was
Why
probably
not?
a year or so. And again, where it gets confusing, me hearing from him, I think it was 7 months or so, but then possibly 4 years of information. So it's like, how make it like now you got to break down the movie for me, right? um but either way, like Nick said, there's some cars starting, some skirting and rooming.
Mm-hmm.
um Jack tells the boys to go out and prove it to the world, and they go and do their best to do exactly that. um The whole academy comes to see them race. Avi brings Audrey, introduces her to the crew. The race begins, and Shulin in the first lap gets into an accident that ends in a very fiery blaze as he collided with the Ferrari. So actually, I think I didn't get that so well. I rounded a few times and you couldn't tell, but from the way they were talking about it, Shulin saw Jan coming up or Jan passing him. Schuling throws it into the next gear to try to catch up, not realizing that the Ferrari that isn't as fast as him is coming up on his side, and they collide because the Ferrari cannot maneuver as swiftly as the two of them could. I thought that was pretty crazy. That fiery blaze happens, and then Jan sees it. He starts having flashes of his own accident. And after the safety car leaves and the race is back on, Jan is not in the game. He drops from fifth to sixth, all the way down to 14th place. And it's not until Jack pisses him off by playing Kenny G and well, Inya, I believe that was, in his ear, which is the music that he uses to prepare himself for the race. He gets pissed off at hearing his own music. Don't understand that. And gets back in, gets into the
Yeah, why
fight
would
that
that
Jack
upset
comes
him?
in. I think it upset him because somebody was touching his shit. That's the only part of that would have made that. That's the only thing that could make sense.
He was
Oh,
playing but he was playing the thing that he got him.
That yeah, no.
I thought he was
He
just
went and got
embarrassed that
his.
he would listen to that kind of stuff and people would laugh at him.
People
His
were mad.
reaction was very strange.
It was
It was
strange as
not
hell.
congruent
Right.
with the character.
It was super strange, and that's why I'm like, it had to be like,
Yeah.
oh, don't touch my shit. Other than that, what are you mad about? I don't get it. Either way, it doesn't make sense.
If
Way,
he's
even
mad
it's
at
don't
that,
touch my shit.
that's yeah. Even if it is don't touch my shit, that was really weird. Like,
Yeah, it was weird as hell.
he was trying to make him laugh, and then it was just like violently like "f you," like
I think.
what?
I'm sorry.
No,
You saying
yeah.
that just made that make sense. I think it just made sense to me. He was mad because he wanted to be mad and in his moment, and Jack wouldn't allow him to, and he knew his music would pull him out. And he didn't want to be held. He didn't want to be seen in that moment.
He was sucking eggs. He needed to get his head right.
Right.
Honestly.
And Jack, I never heard that term too, for the record. But yeah, Jack puts the music on calm, snapped him out of it. Now, what confused me was when he turned off whatever he turned off in the car. But how can you still talk to Jack if you just turned off the comms? I don't get it.
Who knows?
Which made me think, was that like a joke? Like, oh, on the game you have a switch when you turn off the music, they click, they turn off that, because I think that was a thing on Gran Turismo, but I don't remember properly.
Well, most games with a car where you can have music on and you can turn it off. So
Right, but I think specifically there, when you turn it off in Gran Turismo, there is a switch that it shows you turning off, and I
okay.
want to say that switch is yellow. I could be wrong again, but I think. Anyway, he gets angry and he gets back into the fight. Let's see.
Vroom vroom skirt skirt end.
Vroom, vroom, skirt, skirt.
We're
Um,
done.
By hour 12, they're in 8th place. By hour 19, they're in 4th place. The pitman loses one of the bolt or the nut for the damn tire and costs them 4 spots. So they go from 5 spots. They go from 4th place back to 9th place. Jan focuses in racing, trying to catch up, tells the old man to get out of his ear. He has a flashback of when he was talking to his father, which is why I brought that earlier up. And then he tells Jack, hey, Jack, trust me. I know this course better than anyone. And Jack tells the car's not going to hold up. And of course, this time when Jack's telling him how to save his own life, he's, oh, no, I know what I'm talking about. Don't worry about it. I got it. You got to trust me on this one. And Danny's like, shut the fuck up. Do the job we pay you for. And he's like, come on, rich man. You got to listen to me. I got this. Let my po ass destroy this damn car. And they say, you know what? Destroy that car.
Yeah.
But he doesn't destroy the car. He actually
of course not.
He actually ends up making podium, and at the after it comes down to a last minute race, he uses his own driving line, gets around, and him and Kappa are racing. He meets up with Kappa. He gets on the side of him. They come around the bend and they're neck and neck. But Jan wins by a half a car length. No questions asked. No holds bar. Champagne is for the podium. Celebrations are nigh.
Vroom vroom skirt skirt.
Montage. It's over. And actually, no, that's actually, guys, that's how it ends. He hits the podium. You finally see him have his champagne, because champagne is for the podium. He beat out Kappa, or Culpa, whatever the heck his name was. He doesn't really address it. You see him kind of walk off with a stiff face, like he feels a way about it, but he don't. I'm thinking he's walking over there to either apologize or to be like, you ain't gonna get me next time, punk, or something like that, like something super cliche. But instead,
Hey,
he just disappears into the crowd. Oh shit.
You making me salty.
There's a mini montage of Jan's actual racing accomplishments. We find out that Jan has to date raced over 200 races. He still uses Kenny G and Inya before his races to get in the mode, and he was also his own stunt double in the movie. I thought that was probably the coolest thing about this entire thing is, oh, he was his own stunt double in his own biopic. That's cool. Who else can say that?
Jackie Chan.
Not many people is what my answer was going to be, but yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
I think there's more than Jackie Chan, but I get you. I don't even think Michael Jai White would be his own stuntman in his own biopic.
Why wouldn't he? He can be a stuntman. He's a
My
stuntman.
question, that would be the question. Why wouldn't he? But because he the producer now, baby.
Man, I want to collect all the checks.
That's a fact.
Yeah. All right, let's rate this thing, guys. We got.
So-
Nick is almost down for the count.
I am.
I
So
understand.
I felt like I drove for 24 hours. All right.
Hey man, it's not a bad drive. 24 hours. Gotta take a nap.
Mhm.
So I'll go first. Get this out the way. I like this movie. There were a lot of things about the visual side of this that were extremely fun. It draws you in that manner. It really hits you. It wants you to look at this like a video game storyline, but it doesn't really translate that way. Cinematically, I think they really did a great effort. I think some of the acting was done well, but I also think some of the acting could have been done better. Storyline and follow through with that. Man, listen, if you watch this episode, you get how we feel about that. There was a lot missing to the story, but I do feel like if they tried to fill in those blanks, we'd be stuck at about 5 hours of movie, or this be a part two for sure. With that being said, this isn't Lord of the Rings, this is Gran Turismo, but they definitely were on the verge of turning into a Lord of the Rings film.
They already had Legolas.
Mm-hmm. Fair enough.
You're right.
Mhm.
With that being said, I am giving this a 6. And that's where I leave it.
Okay.
enough.
I'll go next.
Mhm.
Story wise, it was all right. Like I said in the beginning, I would have liked to have had more focus on the father son relationship. The racing stuff was cool, but I'm not really into it. And without a whole lot of story, as we discussed, it's not much for me to go on personally. Objectively, though, it was decent. I give it about a 4.
Fair enough. Yeah. I don't dislike the movie. I think it's fine. There's some highlights that I really enjoyed. I think it kind of suffers in the first hour. As far as getting any sort of emotional impact going. I think that once he crashes his car, you sort of feel something for the character, which is good. CGI and the cars are kind of enjoyable. The race scenes are pretty enjoyable. Um, but again, personal taste is not something that I'm very into, so I couldn't connect with it in a deeper sort of way. I found the story kind of, um, I don't know, sterile. All these biopic stuff, it's always like, pardon me, there's always an element of like, okay, how much bullshit is this?
Right.
And whenever it's based on a true story, I'm like, I bet there's one thing in this that's true, and that's it.
Right.
So who knows? It could be more true than not. But I thought it was fine. If you like racing and you like Gran Turismo, I don't see why you wouldn't like this, except for the fact that I think it's probably 20 minutes too long.
Only 20?
Maybe 30. Yeah, so I'm gonna give it a 5. I think for me personally, as far as my taste goes, it's middle of the road. But it's not like terrible. So I'm gonna give it a 5.
Yeah, 5. That puts it right where it belongs. 15 out of 30. That's a 5. Yeah, this is a movie that I think isn't the worst, but it's definitely not the best.
It's no blood and honey.
I think you just have to be really enthusiastic about
Sure, what you guys
racing and Gran Turismo,
Right.
and then you probably put it closer to a 7, I would think.
Yeah, it's more of a niche movie. I mean, you
Yeah.
have to really have that desire to watch that kind of content.
Yeah.
I fully
Like
agree.
me and
This is
zombies.
definitely-
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Oh, God.
No, that's just to say that I understand.
Yeah.
I get it. Trust me when I tell you, I
Mhm.
know people who like way worse movies than zombie movies. You win with zombies.
Yeah.
Right.
I'll watch a bad zombie movie over some other bad movies. Some of them B-roll films be having me. Right.
Over a rom-com every day.
I don't know about that.
All day.
Depends on the rom-com.
I'm sick of them. Everything's a rom com now. Everything,
That's true. Even zombie
Everything.
films.
Hmm.
even stuff that even horror movies are rom coms.
Oh, that's so
It's
true.
true. Very true. All right, my computer's acting up, so I'm gonna have
Ooh.
to end it up here.
All right.
All right.
I
With that being
keep getting
said, we
like
appreciate you
internet
guys.
dropouts. Is there any stuttering on your guys' end?
No,
No.
there was one
Okay.
moment where I thought you froze, but that was like an
Okay.
hour ago.
Okay. Good. Okay.
Well, let's get this done, wrapped up before it decides to actually have an issue. We
Mhm.
appreciate you guys for hanging out with us here at the Screen Time Continuum and having fun with us here at the Screen Time Continuum and knowing that it's all love, man. We got to be real, we got to be honest and straight to the point, and we appreciate you guys hanging out through that every time, giving your opinion on that every time, and checking out the films that we watch as well as we do, because I'm sure they appreciate that and it gives us something more to talk about. Check out our shows, they're all there. You can't miss them. If you check us out on any day of the week, make a playlist because there is such a list of shows. We have some things in the archive like If Numbers Could Talk, Strawberries and Coffee, The Exo Fathom, This Merry Moment. Then you have some things that you can check out that are currently coming on and rolling live through the week, like, hey, King underscore of underscore Ilion over on Twitch. Check that out. Mike's always
Yo,
got something cool for you. I want to say he was playing State of Decay the other day. And also right here where you are, the Screen Time Continuum here for you on Wednesdays and Sundays. And sometimes we might have to shift a day or add a day. So check us out on all of those shows. Type that in, pass it around, tell your friends, and by all means, live life safely. Don't be out here racing after you watch these movies. We know the effect they have on us mentally. We all start
True.
thinking we can do it. Be
Right.
safe.
I
Right.
don't, but I feel I've seen the results of some of this bad driving.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fair
Yeah.
enough.
But yeah, thank you guys for hanging out for the Screen Time Continuum. My name is Keelan.
I'm Nick.
And I might
Thanks a lot, guys.
see you on the flip side.
I expected to see David Harbour race in this, like even a flashback, but yeah.
Oh yeah.
Eh, yeah, yeah.
Room. Skirt.